Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair ragale, ni hao, chunishumme, washmale, ohaya gozaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, previous, kaifahal, and a very amazing assalamu alaikum to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and About You World this morning. Alongside the very amazing Maha Makhdoom and Shazad Khan. Hello, Maha. How are you today?
Hello, Shazad. I'm very well. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm very well today because I'm really excited about the topic that we're going to be discussing because I really like to highlight these issues because they're really important.
I knew that, whenever such a topic would come, you will be excited. And that's why you look very fresh and amazing today as well.
Like I really like raising awareness and I like to highlight, the struggles and hurdles within society because I feel like we become very complacent. We go behind, we go into our homes and our four walls. We're like, it's not our issue, it's not our problem to deal with, but it absolutely is.
And then we have been actually brushing all of these matters under the carpet too as well. And we, on different occasions, do say that we are a very resilient nation and whatnot. But when it comes to this topic, I don't think that we are very resilient. I think we are very vulnerable, or that segment of the society is very vulnerable.
Yes.
So we will definitely let you know. For now, we want you to feel anticipated. But right now, it's about time that we move on towards our top stories. Let's take a look at what's happening
around the world.
Very nice. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi said the government has set growth rate at 6%, which can only be achieved through more oil and gas resources.
Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa has said Pakistan Army shall provide full support to federal and provincial governments for success of Khushhal Balochistan program.
U.S. troops marked the annual holiday of Thanksgiving thousands of miles away from home in South Korea.
And an online auction offering over 1,100 celebrity memorabilia kicked off, including many unique items linked to the late rapper Tupac Shakur. Ooh.
Lahore Blues qualify for the final of National T20 Cup 2017 after beating Rawalpindi by 7 wickets, and Faisalabad beat Peshawar by 5 wickets to qualify for the semi-finals of National T20 Cup 2017 at Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium.
Those were the top stories, and now we're going to go to our public service message, and today Shazad will be doing it. We'll both do it today.
Yeah, it's perfectly all right. All right, thank you very much, Maha, for putting me under the spot or under the light as well. But ladies and gentlemen, today the public service message is all about what we are going to talk about as well within the show. Ladies and gentlemen, what happens is that, when Allah blesses us with daughters, what we do is that we do not really look after them the way we look after our sons as well. And as a matter of fact, things might have evolved, perception might have changed, but that too only is restricted towards the urban areas. Whereas in the rural areas, I think that the conditions are pretty much the same.
Okay, but I think this issue is something that affects all segments of society. It doesn't matter if it's rural or urbanized. And I just like to build up on the point that education, awareness, being exposed to the world doesn't stop these things from happening to you. We are talking about treating women differently. They are more vulnerable, so we mistreat them as well, and we use our power over them. And we have a lot of acts within Pakistan to protect women. Our culture, our religion also provides them an equal setting and standing in society, yet we do not practice them. We have one rule for one and one rule for another. So we would just, as we've been trying to do for the last 4.5 years, is show you that we're all human beings. Everyone deserves respect, dignity, and the basic freedoms in their life.
And then last year, the theme was that, men working for women empowerment as well. But I think that it might have been a great idea. But other than that, the women needs to step up with their game as well. And as a matter of fact, the only reason why I'm saying that is that whenever we see that there's any sort of psychological or physical abuse going on and there are women who are going through or suffering through that, they really do not voice it. And for all of those women who voice it, they are subjected to different remarks or comments as well, which we do not want in Pakistan.
And we've seen that happen within Pakistan. We're seeing it happening in America as well. There's a lot of social movement happening regarding the rights and equality and treatment of women. So it's embedded, and it's embedded within our behavior. So we're going to discuss how are we in Pakistan moving forward with this. Because we are an emerging or a developing nation, I feel like we have more room to kind of adopt and start practicing more positive things, because they're less, there's more room for change here.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm wrong.
There's always room for betterment, but right now, Maha, I'm going to ask you a very interesting question, and that is that tomorrow on 26th of November, back in 1964, there was something amazing which happened over here in Pakistan.
Yes.
What was it?
Well, in 1964, on the 26th of November, was the first transmission of PTV. And it was in black and white, and it was from Lahore.
Exactly. And we are going to share clips of the first ever transmission which took place, ladies and gentlemen. And when you guys are going to come back, we'll let you know more about it. PTV's birthday tomorrow.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। पाकिस्तान टेलीविज़न सर्विस की जानिब से तारिक अजीज़ आपसे मुखातिब है। ख़वातीन व हज़रात, आज जुमेरात है और नवंबर की 26 तारीख। आज का यादगार दिन पाकिस्तान में टेलीविज़न के हवाले से एक तारीख साज दिन है। आज वो दिन है जब अपने इस लाहौर में, इस शहरों के शहर में, इस कॉलेजों के शहर में, इस बागों के शहर में, इस फूलों के शहर में पाकिस्तान टेलीविज़न अपनी नशरियात का आगाज कर रहा है।
जिंदगी के हर पहलू को नुमाया यूं किया, शौक शौक का हसी एक शऊर भी दिया।
इख्तिताम को पहुंच रहा है। मैं देख रहा हूँ सामने घड़ी में 12 बजने में सिर्फ 6 मिनट बाकी।
यार किन चक्करों में पड़ रहा है, खुदा का वास्ता है, ये बहुत खार होता है इस काम में आदमी।
नहीं अल्लाह नहीं मान से, उन्होंने मुझे खुद कहा है। देखना, वो कहते हैं कि पहले जो लीडर थे ना, वो बड़ी बेईमानियां करते थे।
और लाल रंग की चोंच होती है,
लाल रंग की चोंच होती है,
और टैं टैं करता है,
टैं टैं करता है,
और अमरूद खाता है,
अमरूद खाता है।
और ये
चा तेरी नक करेगा ना। कितने चल रही है? मैं
करे जो हम पराई लड़कियां पसंद करते थे।
अरे झूठे हैं, पहले देखे क्या?
क्या मुंह से फूल झड़ रहे हैं?
बहुत बुरे।
अब ऐसा खैर भी आपको कहीं नहीं मिलेगा। हजारों साल नरगिस अपनी बेनूरी पे रोती है, तब जाके तो मुझ जैसे आदमी पैदा होते हैं।
ये आते जो है ना, इन लोगों को चलाना नहीं आती, तो मेरी गाड़ी नहीं चलानी आती।
क्या मतलब मुझे नहीं चलानी आती? तुम देख करके नहीं चला सकते?
भैया आपका चलाएंगे तो यही कुछ होगा।
नहीं जाती वक्ती सारा आधी रात को फाटक के पास, ठीक है नहीं?
फिर वही फाटक, कोई दूसरी बात नहीं कर सकते आप सिवाय फाटक के।
डालिए और करीब आ जाइए, और करीब आ जाइए। बड़ा इंटीमेट सीन है। हाँ हाँ यू। और मैं कहती हूँ बाज आ जाओ तुम। आखिर तुम समझते क्यों नहीं हो?
अरे यार सर ना और मेरा मेरे खामखा परेशान कर रही हो मुझे।
क्यों? आखिर क्या परेशानी ऐसी तुम्हें? मुझे भी तो पता चल।
यार अनारकली जा रही है। अनारकली ने बताया कि शादी के लिए असरार कर रहा है। अगर चली गई।
We definitely hope that quite a lot of people might have felt nostalgic about the first ever transmission clips we just shared with you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow it's going to be another amazing day as well. But today we definitely want to wish PTV a happy anniversary, and may you live longer and longer and longer, and may you just keep on expanding too as well.
Exactly, and keeping the quality and the level of talent back then as well. That was just another level, and it just sets the standard. And we need to try and get back there, which everyone's working.
Exactly, but Maha, the amazing fact is that back in 1961, it was actually a private project, which was actually commenced by Sayyid Wajid Ali Saab back in 1961, and he had a contract with the NEP, which was Nippon Electric Company, NEC. And then further moving on, you know, there was one of the engineers who was very talented, Mr. Ubaidur Rahman. And then after the President Ayub Khan government took over, what happened was that they reappointed Mr. Ubaidur Rahman. And then, you know, our capital of the East, Dhaka, even in 1965, we developed a center over there. And then moving on, coming down to Islamabad, it was in 1965, and then followed by Karachi, where centers were developed. And, you know, the first ever transmission was not like, you know, the way we are sitting in the studios. It was basically a tent, and that's how they were doing it.
On the back of Lahore Radio,
yeah,
right?
on the back of Lahore Radio. And then further moving on, in 1970s, PTV commenced their color transmission. That's what we call. And since then, there was no going back as well. Now we have PTV World, we have got PTV Global, we have got PTV National, we have got PTV News, we have got PTV Home.
Sports.
And the family's just growing up. We have PTV Sports, and there are news. There's a news that, you know, that we might even get onto PTV Sports too as well.
Okay, great.
Beautiful.
So that's wonderful. So
and other than that, you know, we cannot move on towards our topic right now because majority of the faces you see on all other private channels,
they came from PTV.
They learned from PTV. PTV has an academy as well. We've got a drama academy. And ever since then, we have been learning. But now the different part is that people from private sector wants to work with PTV.
Yeah,
so it's the other way around too.
Yeah, so I mean now it's a cross, you know, cultural thing now. So anyways, let's move on to our
So happy
topic.
birthday, PTV.
Happy birthday, PTV. It's 53 years now, isn't it? So may you live long and prosper and go towards the right path as well. So now, moving on to our topic. It's a very important topic, as we mentioned in our public service message. Within Pakistan, there are over, well, this is a figure from last year as well, and these are just reported, and we don't have the actual figures, but there were over 280 domestic violence court cases. There were over 900 rapes and sexual assaults. There was over 830 cases of burning. There was over 800 cases of kidnapping and over 770 suicides, all because of domestic violence and violence against women.
Exactly, and when you, thank you very much, Maha, for sharing the figures, but for all those people who are out there who might not even have an idea of what domestic violence is. So domestic violence is all about dowry, it's all about acid attacks, it's all about psychological and physical tortures. So please make sure that you can relate to all of these figures, because these figures comparatively are not very high from, for example, if we see the picture back in 2007 or 1999, because in 1999, almost 5,000 women were murdered in a year just because of these domestic violences.
Exactly, and we've made a lot of progress in the last few years with the Violence Against Women Act of 2015 and all these you know, different policies and campaigns that we're taking. But what is happening on the ground level? Because these figures are still very alarming, because even one person suffering like this is too much. So let's introduce to our guests and start this very important
And we'll ask
topic.
them what's happening. So on my right-hand side, we have got the chairperson of NCSW, known as the National Commission on the Status of Women, none other than Ms. Khabar Mumtaz. Hello, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming back to talk about this very important topic. Besides Ms. Khawar Mumtaz, we've been joined by Ms. Sangeeta Rana Thappa. She is a Deputy Representative of the UN Women Pakistan. She's also part of the United Nations entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and I'm very glad to be here, and also would like to wish 53rd happy birthday to PTV.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing that. Last but not the least, he's a legend amongst ourselves as well, ladies and gentlemen. He's a celebrity now for all of the things which he has been doing for women, because he's got two campaigns running parallel, but we'll be focusing on the White Ribbon one as well. He's none other than the CEO of White Ribbon Pakistan, Mr. Umar Aftab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
And happy birthday to PTV.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very much for joining us. So I think I'm going to start the conversation over here. So this year even, we are going to observe 16 days of activation for violence against women. Why, and what are the changes which you have witnessed from the previous year?
So first of all, you know, your program is the first program or start of our national mobilization. So today we are mobilizing men in more than 70 cities of Pakistan simultaneously today at 4 p.m. and then we'll have a national launch as well in Islamabad today. Jointly, White Ribbon, UN Women, NCSW and Ministry of Human Rights. So this year, it's a huge mobilization of men. And again, reason being that, unfortunately in Pakistan, every fifth woman is subject to some kind of violence. That's according to the Pakistan Demographic Survey report of 2014. And Pakistan being a patriarchal society, so it's important to engage men for gender equality.
Absolutely.
So focus of the White Ribbon campaign and this year of this whole mobilization is engaging men and boys across Pakistan to sensitize them on women's rights and gender equality, and that's the whole theme. And talking about patriarchy, so patriarchy, it's like at three different stages. So one is at the personal level. Then patriarchy is also in the society, and then patriarchy is also in the state. So we see all of this in like 3 different years.
We will definitely discuss all of these 3 things which are happening over here in Pakistan. All right, so we were actually told to go for a break, but now we can move on. So all right, on these 3 different levels, what's happening?
So, we see how women are treated at the personal level by men, and then we see how our society is towards, or towards women issues, and then at the state level as also, because policies and all of those things are made at the state level. Yes, in past few years there have been lots of changes in policies and laws. But still, when we talk about patriarchy, so we talk about patriarchy at all of these 3 levels.
All right.
Okay, so now I'm going to take it back a little bit, because this is the same idea, the 16 days activism. We did that last year as well. So let me move on to you, ma'am. Last year we talked about raising awareness, and people come here talking about campaigns and raising awareness so that people have more knowledge. But what was the actual impact on ground level of that campaign that we ran last year? Did we see any improvements in people's behavior and acceptance of this?
Actually, we have to look at this campaign. It's not 1 year or 2 years. It's an annual event. The idea is for in these days, because 25th of November is the day of violence against women. This is just to draw attention to the fact that we still need to continue, and we need to campaign. That does not mean that we don't campaign throughout the year, and we don't take action throughout the year. Now, the campaign does create awareness, and as you probably know, that Pakistan has a number of legislation which is for women, for protection of women, for safeguarding their rights. But we also find that women and men don't know about that enough. They don't know how to go about invoking those laws. And for that, the awareness is needed. Now, if we look back, especially last year, we've seen that there is a dramatic reduction in the cases of acid crimes.
Yes.
There's a 50% reduction, because there's a network of people who follow each of those cases. Make sure that they're registered. And we are talking about registered cases also, because as you know, we don't have a baseline on the actual situation on the ground, which is what we are trying to do. The Commission wants to do a national baseline so that we can actually monitor what change is taking.
Okay, wonderful.
But ma'am, this commission is definitely for the interest of women anyways. Now, since we are talking in terms of how many registered cases we have of probably acid attacks or whatever kind of domestic violence happening, tell us about different other things. For example, deaths because of dowry wasn't there.
I mean, I agree with you. There's so many forms of violence against women. We've also made a list of those. Some of those we all know. Some happen within the house, some happen outside the house. At the working place, harassment at the workplace, which is a big issue now globally these days, if you know.
Exactly.
This is a big issue, and it's all pervasive. We also know that domestic violence in Pakistan is almost the same level as global. About 35% of women in their homes suffer from violence, which a lot of it is, we only see in the papers the extreme cases. But at home, there's insulting, there is slapping.
So all of these things are not registered, right?
They're not registered, they're psychological.
Okay.
We'll definitely come back to
We're going to come back to that, and we're also going to move on to Ms. Sangeeta. But right now, we have to go for a short break. But when you come back, we're going to continue this very interesting conversation, which you guys need to be part of. Do stay tuned.
Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PT World, you're watching World This Morning alongside Maha Maktoum and Shahzad Khan. And today we're talking about violence against women because there's a 16-day activation going on, which is kickstarting from today at 4 p.m. There'll be a national kickstart.
And this is the thing. This has been going on from last year as well. And it's a continuous process because until we eradicate this menace and this evil from our society, we're going to not be okay. So let me move on to Ms. Sangeeta. We had the national kind of details a little bit, the situation here. But when we look at internationally, we look at developed nations to take cues from them. You know, what's happening in their society, how they're evolving, how do we keep up with them? But when you see this happening across the board, you know, we're seeing this all over, you know, the media in Western, in Hollywood, all these things, you know, this ingrained patriarchy, this targeting of influential women or children, girls of, you know, powerful people as well. But so how do we expect, you know, other countries as well to kind of take the lead and kind of eradicate it from society?
Thank you very much, Mahab, you know, for you know, putting your perspective on this so that I can respond to it. But I want to begin, you know, with the 16 days of activism, which is a global campaign.
Yep.
And if I recall correctly, it started sometime in 1991. It was coordinated by the Center for Women's Global Leadership. So that's how it started, and then slowly countries, you know, began adopting, you know, this campaign because, you know, when you talk about, you know, violence against women, it's not a national phenomena. It's a global phenomena.
Yeah.
It cuts across in all culture, all countries, all, you know, strata, economic, social. So it's not that, you know, we can pinpoint a certain segment or certain section of you know, women or girls who face violence. And when we talk about violence, and it's already been elaborated, you know, when we talk about, you know, violence against women, you know, they come in different forms, you know, in different intensity. So, you know, ranging from, you know, physical, verbal, emotional, economic, social, you just, you know, have to name it. So, but let me come back to my own organization, and just wanted to inform that this year the Secretary General's Unite campaign also, you know, will commemorate 16 days of activism within the broader framework of the theme of leaving no one behind and end violence against you know, women and girls, which is, you know, also in line with the, you know, core principles of the you know, 2030 development agenda on sustainable development. And this is also very much emphasizes or reiterates, you know, the message of the Unite campaign, you know, which is, you know, to have a world, you know, which is free of violence, you know, where women and girls can live a life of, you know, freedom, you know, with respect and with with dignity, and which should also encompass, you know, communities, you know, both in including men, women, girls, and girls, especially girls and boys, you know, who are marginalized, you know, indigenous, you know, from the indigenous community. Those women and girls, you know, who are affected by, you know, conflict, displacement, and natural disasters. Migrants, you know, trafficked, you know, women and girls. So, you know, so that is the focus, you know, for this year. Coming back to Pakistan. Yes, we did talk about, you know, this campaign, you know, which started last year, but in terms of 16 days of activism, I think this has been something which Pakistan has been, I would not want to say celebrating, but commemorating or, you know, observing or marking. And this is, you know, for me, and I'm sure, you know, Khabar and Umar would also agree with me, is that, you know, 16 days of activism, which begins on 25th of November, ends on 10th of December, which is the Human Rights Day, is, you know, basically, you know, is a time when we galvanize, you know, attention and actions, you know, for against violence against women.
Okay, but the thing is, let me move on to Umar Saab, because my point was, like, when we see this happening abroad, like the ingrained, like we look to the West, we look at Hollywood, you know, our youth are being influenced by them. When you see influential, powerful people, when it's happening at such basic levels over there, we wanted to make changes in our own country. Yet these arguments are then used when you bring up something like, oh, there's violence against women. This is, most people, like, in the beginning, like, oh, Maha, you love these kind of topics. We put
everything. Was for me.
No. It's not about, I'm sorry to use you always as the sheep, the sacrificial lamb. But it's just a great example that people do downplay it. Over here, we are taught silence. This is what, I was listening to Mukhtar Mai's situation. You look at that. You're taught silence, fear, shame. So then when someone is doing this towards you, it doesn't matter which part of the region you're in, you're not going to
And then
think
even
it's a big
families
deal.
are not supportive of the action you've taken against the violence.
But you see, there's a whole zone of silence around inflicted people having women. But this is also, something you mentioned earlier also, it's a question of power relationship.
Okay.
And it's ingrained in societies. In our societies, it has different articulations. From the fact that a girl can be given to settle conflicts or forced into marriage, despite the law. So I think it's that ingrained thing that we want to change, and we want to make our society better, and we want men to also recognize that for a better society, you have to respect women.
That is great, and definitely, we will move on to Mr. Umar Aftab. But over here, since Maha, you gave us an example of Hollywood, for example, if we move on towards the latest Hollywood films which are coming out, I do not really see violence against women even within the film. So, they avoid that thing. But over here, Mr. Shoaib Mansoor is still making films where there's violence against women as well. So, before we move on towards the trailer as well, and then, all the critics, they have actually, they're raged that why do you think that we still have to make films on these topics? There might be a valid reason that this is still within the society, but it's everywhere. So why are we still doing it? Why are we still on that track?
First of all, patriarchy is a global phenomenon.
Yes.
And the current form of patriarchy, Aristotle is the founder of it 600 years back. So still globally, that patriarchal mindset exists. But if we compare Pakistan with other countries, so there is one difference definitely, because so there are violations of women's rights abroad as well, but then there are structures available. Then the perpetrator is put to is judged for that. So in Pakistan, in last many years, the activists and the commission as well has tried to come up with new laws that at least the victim can get the justice on that, and the perpetrator can be punished. So that's like one difference. Yes, still, many people say that Americans were not ready to have female president.
They're not. Clearly.
So on the other hand, we had a female prime minister. So
Twice.
yes, it's a global phenomena. We saw the Supreme Court ruling for not the equal pay and all of those things. So patriarchy is a global phenomena, and again, states are patriarchal, and it's everywhere.
But do you think that there is a connection in between violence against women and generic violence which happens within our society or within the country?
I think there is a correlation, of course.
What is that correlation?
There are like studies which, for example, now prove that the kids who are grown up in families which have domestic violence.
For example, when mother and father fight a lot.
Yeah, so they
perpetuate. It just goes on.
They have this inbuilt violence in them. So. And whatever we see right now in our society, this intolerance and violence, it has to do with the domestic violence as well.
And also, I guess social and all these frustrations as well isn't going to, if you have economic struggle, if you cannot provide food, that's going to also cause
they exacerbate these situations. But the point is that there is violence in all societies. There are ways of dealing with it. Unfortunately, our ways, our systems and the mindset is so pervasive that even those institutions that are supposed to support don't actually end up supporting.
Okay, so this is what I want to ask you.
Let's just move on to Ms. Thapa for a global perspective as well on to violence having a correlation with violence against women.
Absolutely, and I agree with what Howard has said and also Omar has said, because there is a direct relationship between the domestic violence and the broader violence against we face globally, or and then it percolates down to countries and then communities and then within the household level. One thing that I also wanted to mention here was that violence against women, which I think this was raised, is looked upon as as a private affair. So that is something which I think we're trying to do, that it's not private, it's public, because it has implications not only on the people who are facing it, but also the larger community, and then the nation and the state. And because it's so much entrenched in patriarchy, I think it's really important for us to work together. So it's not, when we talk about violence against women, it's not only women. So that's why we are collaborating with men and boys,
exactly,
to work
everyone's
together.
a potential victim. Exactly. Okay, but this is what I want to ask, because we are running really short of time and we still have to share a trailer, and I have 20,000 questions I still want to ask you. But the Commission has been doing a lot of work, and it's really great. I mean, we saw the Violence Against Women Act in 2015. We've seen criminalization of stalking, of cybercrime, etc. So on paper, we're doing a lot of the right things, but at the end of the day, it's about raising awareness and educating the masses. And like we made, we made that distinction that, urbanized or rural, it doesn't matter, because if you're with a violent partner, he's going to be violent no matter where you are. So now, going forward, what would you like to achieve with this year's 16 Days of Activism? What would you like to see happen?
We really feel that it's about time the society looks at it as a societal phenomena, something that affects everybody, and that levels of, our threshold of tolerance has gone really low.
Okay.
And we need to remove that. We need to have more dignity, more respect, see women as human beings, as citizens, as equal citizens, and deserving of equality, and be respected, and dignity. And for this, men are very important, because society is not only women or only men.
Exactly.
But the same question to Umar though, like with this campaign, this year, what do you want to now see? Because you guys made impact last year with it. We followed you guys. This year, what would you like to see being built upon?
I think we have lots of now legislation, but we really need to work on the behavior change. And behavior change is a very slow process. So involving more and more men and boys, and we now really want to target on young boys, because we think that if we aware them on gender equality, so it's easier to change their behavior rather than working on grown up men. Of course we have to work on them as well, but our focus is to redefine the narrative around this whole issue of patriarchy.
Okay, that is a great way forward as well, but I want you to step back a little as well. For example, for all of those women who have been subjected to violence already, what about their psychological states, and what about their offsprings? How do you think they're going to behave in days to come? Are we coming up with a campaign where we want to treat them psychologically?
I think that those are things associated with services.
Yeah.
There have to be more support services where women can go and get support, not only physical safety, but psychological support.
Exactly.
And some of our shelters do provide that.
Right.
Okay.
But we need to expand that.
Absolutely.
It has to be at the district level, it has to be at the local level.
Okay, so
and also, I think it's very important for women also to understand and realize that it's not their mistake.
Yes.
They should not inhale themselves, guilty or as victims. So they're not victims; they are survivors.
Absolutely.
So I think that's very important.
One more thing, very sorry.
Shazad.
I'm very sorry for that, but that is that, yesterday we were talking about food safety and scientific harmonization, where we were saying that, the food is contaminated and whatnot, and there are different standards which we are going to apply. So every time we do have legislations, we do have bills coming up and whatnot. But how do we ensure that their implication is there? For example, if somebody is going to go against the law or whatever is going to happen, how do you think that we are going to make sure that, there are people who are going to look after you?
For example, I'm sorry, I keep using this example of Mukhtar Mai. Like, she was subjected and she had to fight to get the justice. Now, I mean, we all know, it doesn't matter what religion you are, it doesn't matter what upbringing, you know what happened to her. Why, even then, when it's so obviously wrong, is it still so hard to get
I think this is precisely it. It is the issue of power relations. The ones who did that to her were more powerful than the ones who were weak, and therefore the law has to come into operation.
Okay.
And we have to actually this is the stage in our society where we have to struggle to make sure that the law applies, and with awareness and with pressure on law enforcing agencies and government.
Okay.
So, I think there are 3 levels to work on. One is that making women and girls aware, because at many times we see that they are not aware on lots of legislation. Then the next step is training and capacity building of the service providers, because we see that police and judiciary and all of those service providers at times they are not even aware of lots of legislation. That's another level. And then at the broader level, the behavior change of the society. That's the concept of social justice. That we really need to focus.
Thank you very much for wrapping it so well.
Media has a very important
yes, that was one of my points, and I wanted to ask that question. But no, thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And really great work. And whatever we can do, we're here to support that. But I just want to say the media also has a really important role. I mean, I remember when we first started the show, everyone was laughing at us and mocking us. And what are you doing? But now we've managed 4 years. But the other channels, everyone who writes these dramas, everyone who writes these films, stop sensationalizing other people's pain. They're human beings, and we need to help protect them.
And I think that's where we are wrong too as well, that for all of those private production houses which are out there, if in the daytime you'll sit down to watch a television drama serial, what they do is that they want them to actually relate to the real life scenarios as well. Please do not do that, because if somebody's actually trying to forgive or forget or to overcome whatever psychological traumas they have been through, please do not put them back into that place.
Put it in a positive light. Show them that there's an end to this.
And that there can be a better life after that.
Exactly. So with that, if you want any information on any of the topics, especially on this 16 days activism, log on to our Facebook fan page.
It is with the name of World This Morning.
Our Twitter page.
World This Morning without a G.
Our Daily Mission and YouTube page.
World This Morning, World This Morning.
And the repeat is at
11 p.m.
Have a wonderful day. Be good, be safe, and look after people around you.
Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.